See, you got me all off track.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
See, you are paying attention. I like that. Jen's motion is seconded by Rick to approve our agenda as it is. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Now we have an agenda. Thank you for that. Minutes are next.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on February 24th. Second.
Rick's motion is seconded by Ed to approve the minutes from our previous board meetings. Anyone have questions on those? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That clearly passes. And vouchers usually follow minutes.
I'll move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $1,075,293.64 as presented.
I'll second.
So, motion is seconded by Annette to approve the checking account vouchers in the amount he just enumerated. Does anyone have questions on those? I see none. All in favor of approval, please signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes additionally. This is the spot where public comment comes up. I picked up the sheet on the way in. We have no one signed up to offer us any thoughts, so we'll move past that to Rich's superintendent update.
They're just gonna cut some cake.
I missed that. Shame on me. Welcome, folks. See, when you come in hot like that, I was practicing my mission and vision statement on the way in. I also had to hear that. Welcome, Max. Sorry for the oversight.
No problem. So first and foremost, we've got Winter Spirit Week. We'll be doing that in February, so we'll be talking about that more. But right now, we've just been in the planning phases of that, and we're going to be doing that jointly with our Unity team at the high school. We're going to be part of that, which is still to be determined, but we're working on it. Is some sort of involvement on highlighting Special Olympians, which would probably involve the polar plunge some point down the road. We've been ringing, the Middle Student Council has been ringing for the Salvation Army. If you have been to the Piggly Wiggly recently, you may have seen some of us there. We are currently working on a Kids Against Hunger meal packaging event. So this has several benefits. Obviously, we'll be able to package meals. And then also students will be able to get their silver cord hours. This will be on a weekend day. And we'll be seeking donations from area businesses and community members and so forth. It's, I think, 50 cents, maybe $1 a meal, somewhere around there. And that's coming up down the road too. And I just sort of want to give another overall goal of student council that we've been looking at. And that is basically we are focusing on working with other clubs and extracurricular organizations at the high school to basically improve and increase the collaboration, the cross-club collaboration, and just trying to unify the student body as a whole. So student council had some presence at the play that we just had not too long ago. And basically student council is just trying to be it's trying to initiate some collaboration to bring the student body together. Any questions on anything I've said that I've thrown at you today? All right, thank you all.
Very good, thank you. Okay, and as I mentioned, no public comment, so now we will segue toward Rich.
And for our Red Hawk highlights, this is the second board meeting of the month, so our principals and any interested directors will come up and share what's happening in their schools or departments. As they're coming up, there's one from the district wide that I wanted to share. And it's a recognition, and I'm going to read the press release that was put out, or a social media announcement that was put out by the Wisconsin School PR Association. Each year, WSPRA's coveted Lighthouse Award is presented to the highest rated Spectrum Award entry from a variety of categories. This year, 124 entries of school communication work submitted by WSPRA members were eligible for this award. Awards were judged by school public relations professionals from around the country. The Lighthouse Award winner exemplifies the very best communications work throughout schools in the entire state. Congratulations to Carrie Pleba and the School District of Milton, Wisconsin, for their 4K signing social media campaign. it ends with the Spectrum Awards are presented by Westwood to recognize excellence in communications and public relations programs and projects. So you may remember the 4K signing social media program. It was based on many high schools have a signing day for student athletes that are signing to go on to college and play athletics. And Carrie set up with our 4K schools an opportunity for our 4K students and their parents to come in and have their own signing day. So congratulations to Carrie on doing a great job overall with our communication. Great job, Carrie.
I'm going to add a little bit to that, in that the part of why that program was so successful is they actually had some metrics to show the effectiveness, because our enrollment for 4K jumped and we started getting new enrollees during and right after that campaign. So, and I think we are experiencing our biggest 4K ever. Not necessarily just because of that, but it sure was a factor. So that's pretty cool. At the 4K3 level, we are getting excited about, and nervous a little, about jumping into a new world of assessment. You've heard a lot about Act 20, and you've learned that we've been doing lots and lots of trainings. So we're going to put that training to use at Harmony and Consolidated the week after Thanksgiving. We have a team of our instructional coach, our reading interventionists, our classroom teachers who've all gone through the training that will do a new reading screener. That's a statewide requirement. And so we will be doing that first at Harmony and then at Consolidated the next day. And then after that, there are our normal iReady screeners that we all do our benchmark testing, and other assessments that come in for those students who aren't performing at the desired benchmark. And so it's kind of a new territory. So I want to give a shout out to Julie Musgrove and her team, because they put a ton of work into planning and supporting the schools. And so our teachers have worked really hard on all the trainings, but it would be very daunting for a teacher of 20 to 25 kids to do that on their own this first time. So we're really, really grateful for the help of all of our reading interventionists, and our Amy and the school psychs are part of that too. So just a great team effort. So we'll learn more about the process, but that's coming up. And I want to give a shout out to our 4K3 schools. All 4 of our schools do some sort of community outreach between Thanksgiving, this time of year, Thanksgiving, and through the winter holidays. So we know that community is very important in Milton, and we are very grateful for the support of our school communities and our greater community. So we all find different ways to give back this time of year, whether that's meals for the youth center, or the clothing drive, or food drives for the food pantry. Every one of our schools has a unique way to do that, but we're proud to support our community this time of year and kind of teach those young Red Hawks what it means to be part of the Milton community. All right, 3 quick things at Northside. First would be our parents group has been working hard prior to my time at Northside, building funds to get some new playground equipment to add to our Northside 1993 vintage equipment that we have. And so we've taken those next steps with picking out something to give the students and our families something to look at and then build upon. So that's pretty exciting work that our parents group's doing. Would like to give a hats off to our staff at Northside for 2 reasons. That Act 20 training that Mrs. Stuckey was just talking about. They've been working super hard, endless on our PD days and every opportunity in between to get that done. As well as at Northside, we've been picking our essential standards, turning that into parent-friendly language to then go on the report card. And so a lot of hard work has been doing that on the PD days and our PLC time. And then lastly, I wanted to share out something that I forgot, but it's going to come to me here in the brief second. Parents group. Oh, I know. Our gifted and talented teacher, Mrs. Jacobson, had shared out to Mr. Dye and I this really cool opportunity that our students had, taking robots and programming these robots to do certain things. And they had tried one attempt and just fell short of making the trapdoor close. And so they redid the
the program, made some adjustments, did it again, and then the look on the video, the kids' faces was priceless because there was success, and I thought that was pretty cool to share. So I'm glad I remembered. Have a good night.
All right, at the high school. So as Max mentioned, we were very, very proud of the entire crew of Matilda. The cast and crew did a wonderful job last weekend. So congratulations, shout out to Ebby Vandrum, Elizabeth Brockwell, and Nathan Check from the music department for putting that together. We came back with really rave reviews. The robotics are rolling here. They get started with Kramer, but congrats to the Red Hawk robotics team. Yesterday, or Saturday, they qualified for the state tournament. This is the first year that they've done that. So Rob Thomas, very, very proud of the work that they're doing there. If you've not seen them in action, each year there's a new task they have to do. Now they have to build this year it's building a tower, and it's very unique ways they go about doing it, but they actually had 2 teams that qualified for the state tournament. So this is the furthest that the Red Hawk robotics has gone. So we're very proud of them. Winter sports are in full spring, but as we finish up the fall sports and as grades are coming in at the end of the trimester, we'll be very soon celebrating the first Milton May champion. That is under the direction of Sarah Brechtel. She organizes that program. But each team, fall sports, they get accumulated points for their GPA, for community service hours, for attendance. For example, the girls basketball team and the boys hockey team and as a team attended Matilda as a group. So you attend various functions as a team, or you're working together, whether it's packing meals or whatnot, you get various points for your team. So we're eagerly waiting to see which fall sports team gets the cup for fall sports. So Sarah will be tabulating that as grades come in here. And then also I should bring your attention, because this is going to come awfully fast. January 22nd is Planning Your Future at MHS and Beyond. It's an event from 4:30 to 8 o'clock on January 22nd. This is a new event at Milton High School. It is going to be a conference-style event. There are 5 sessions, and all staff are helping put together sessions, whether it is learning about various career fields and what courses you can take at Milton High School if you're interested in healthcare, you're interested in engineering, if you're interested in teaching. We have a variety of different sessions that you'll be able to go to, but also there'll be sessions such as understanding your IEP, or how can I improve my ACT score, or how does arena scheduling actually work. So we are trying to have a new event to reach out to our families and students to understand how to, it started out as an event, so how do we help students figure out the courses they really want to take or should be taking, and it has morphed, and we're really excited about the event it's going to be. I'll be sending some materials out, but we're starting the promotion for that with parents. We like to get a really great turnout from parents and students. Again, that's January 22nd from 4:30 until 8 o'clock.
Good evening, everyone. In teaching and learning, the first thing I want to share is this year we added something called IRT, our independent reading time, across our school. Each day there's 10 minutes of reading, and so all adults are included in that as well. And we have seen an increase in what we call the joy of reading, and more books are being checked out from our library. So we're excited about that change. Second thing I want to highlight is in AVID. We have AVID 7 and AVID 8. And on Fridays, we began our guest speaker series. So beginning 2 weeks ago, and then for the next few months, we have Friday guest speakers. So if anyone is interested, we're happy to welcome any other guest speakers. Just let me know if there's something you want to join us and share. Today at our professional development, we had an AI session led by 2 of our staff, and just dabbling, but worlds of possibility for both our adults and our students. So just excited to see how we can capitalize on some of those opportunities. In relationships, climate, and culture, we've had a recent assembly, and middle schoolers love competition. And so we've had a lot of friendly competition. Kids know the contests ahead of time. So we're seeing some pretty interesting competition between the grade levels, and staff are getting involved, so that's fun to see. We had our first Unity Rec Night, which is an opportunity for some of our students with disabilities to get involved in our rec nights in a different way, where it's a little bit more low stakes and quieter environment, less stimulating than our typical rec night. And then finally, last week we had a staff secret spirit week, and it took our kids until almost Friday to figure it out. And then they planned their own for Friday, which made it kind of the best example of a secret spirit week. So that's us at the middle school.
Hi, I wanted to give an update from the district level with our littlest learners. Our Little Hawks Pre-Flight Academy is our 3-year-old playgroup at West, and this was new this year and very successful, so much so that we're opening a second playgroup come January 2025 at Harmony. It's been very popular and supported within our community, and the parents are grateful for the opportunity for our littlest 3 and 4-year-old Red Hawks. So it's supported through a grant through DPI. So that's it's called the Early Learning Technical Assistance and Implementation Grant. And the goal of the grant and our work is to provide as many inclusive opportunities for our littlest learners as possible. So big shout out to our early childhood team who are just removing barriers and thinking outside the box to provide all options of programming. So exciting stuff. Thank you.
If you'll forgive me, I'm a lot more comfortable behind the camera than I am in front. It's why I take the pictures for the district. I wanted to thank everybody for their congratulations, but I feel very uncomfortable accepting them if we didn't acknowledge the principals and the 4K teachers who let me into their classroom. That takes a lot of trust. It also takes a lot of flexibility. It's where I learned that we bend like the palm tree. I believe that's what Marcia said, because it really was quite the fun day for the 4K, and the brave 4K teachers who wrangled them all back after that are the heroes of this story. So thank you very much, but please know it was a district award, possible because we have amazing staff and students. Thank you.
Hey, Rich, pop into the update.
Yeah, there's an attachment in Word Docs, and we just want to highlight a couple things from that attachment as we move into, or at least closer to, the winter weather season. We encourage families to make sure that they're checking their contact information in Skyward Family Access, because we utilize that contact information to notify families about any changes to our start or end times or cancellations because of inclement weather. I want to note that the National Weather Service made 2 changes to how they issue their warnings and watches and advisories. And this is a nationwide change. They've changed their temperature limit for cold weather warnings and advisories from 35 below 0 to 30 below 0. So those are in effect at 30 below 0 now for our region. And we also moved away from using the term wind chill warnings or advisories, and they just call them extreme cold watches or warnings. The wind chill plays a part in determining whether they issue that, but they don't call them that anymore. Want to make sure parents are aware that if there is inclement weather, we announce those school closings as soon as possible. We have an automated phone call and text alerts that go out to families. We utilize local TV and radio stations and our district's website, Facebook page, and Instagram account. And pending approval tonight from the board on the number of instructional days that we have for next year, and you'll see a proposal coming up to keep it the same as this year. But for this year, and if approved for next year, we have enough instructional minutes to have some wiggle room above the state's minimum requirement for the number of, for the amount of instructional time. So our plan this year, which mirrors what we did last year, is the first 2 full days or partial days of weather cancellations would be treated like traditional snow days where you don't have any school or virtual instruction. And once we get beyond 2 days of that, if and when we do, then I'd be making a decision on whether we would have some type of virtual instruction on that day, or look to make up that day later on in the year, or whether we still would have enough wiggle room with our instructional days. If we get close to the point where we may need to make up days, we would bring that to a board meeting and have that conversation with the board about the potential to add any makeup days to the calendar or the need to make out any days to the calendar. So we're hoping for a nice, smooth winter for transportation for our students to and from school, but we work really closely with other districts, with the National Weather Service, with our partners at Go Right Way, to make sure that we are not putting our students or staff in a situation that isn't safe for them.
Questions from anyone for Rich? All right, thank you for that. Next up is a committee report from our curriculum committee that Jennifer chairs for us.
Okay, so the group met on November 18th, and first item on the agenda, I'll let Julia come up and go ahead and talk briefly about our update on our SEL curriculum.
Sorry, I should have been ready. So we're doing a secondary SEL curriculum pilot, so grades 6 through 12. We are piloting, we had a work group that got together that came up with some options for CASEL competency-based curriculums and evidence-based curriculums. And then from that list, we narrowed it down, and we're going to be piloting Character Strong. It's similar to Second Step. It's created by teachers for teachers. 6th grade has a small group of teachers piloting that. So we're going to compare Second Step and Character Strong and make a decision at the 6th grade level and middle school level as to which curriculum they would like to use moving forward. And then 9 through 12 hasn't had a universal SEL curriculum yet. So this is going to be a pilot for them. And full implementation will be determined after this pilot in the spring. What else did we talk about with that at the curriculum committee? The high school pilot isn't going to start until February because they're still doing their ACT prep during their advisories, which is when this would be delivered for 9th and 10th grade students this year. So we're going to start that in February. The training for the rest of the staff happened today. It was a quick 45 minute training with the Character Strong implementation team. And it was just navigating the website, how to log in, how to access the lessons, kind of the whole scope and sequence of what that would look like during their advisory time. So excited about it. We'll see how it goes. Questions for me? Yeah.
Did you say the pilot was for 9th and 10th grade only?
This year, yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you intend to grade?
Grade?
Yeah, like, so how do
Meaning, are we going to stick with Second Step or Character Strong? We're going to gather feedback from the teachers who are using it. And then we just had some features that were kind of look-fors for us. So user-friendly, readily available and not a lot of prep work for the teachers, engaging for students. It had to be evidence and CASEL competency-based. So there were some checkoffs that we had to have before we even landed on what curriculum we were going to pilot. So then it's going to be a matter of what we have and then determining whether it's at that 6th grade level and 7th and 8th grade level they'd like to make the switch. Our cycle adoption for SEL curriculum happens the same as any other academic adoption. So you review and analyze all of the curriculum and then make determinations on whether you're staying with it or not. So the same thing kind of happens with SEL. And Second Step's going to be up for renewal next year. So that's why we wanted to get something going now and obviously have a universal at the high school level because we just haven't had that yet. But a lot of feedback from the teachers, Tracy. It's going to be helpful. Likely, we haven't had that conversation yet, but that would make sense. Yeah. It's very engaging, and it's more of a facilitation. Character Strong is more facilitation and conversation with the students, which is happening naturally with our teachers every day. That connection building, that sense of safety and rapport in a classroom, and that's really what it's tailored to do. So it's exciting. Other questions for me? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Next, we discussed and reviewed course proposals for the 25-26 school year, and they are in Word docs along with a memo from Mr. Billboard that spells out some of the changes and highlights also some of the new coursework. And again, just for the board's knowledge, this is an action item today. Jeremy's.
Yeah, I guess, in the materials, you'll see the courses there, that there's the biggest part is the reorganization of the Ag Science. Stacy and Paige did a lot of work on reevaluating the curriculum within that area, but then some specific courses in English, digital research and inquiry course, adding 2 robotics courses that we actually to the computer science department, introduction to healthcare careers course, and then an advanced athletic performance in FIAT. There's the detailed descriptions within the packet, but are there any specific questions? Yes.
Quick question, Jeremy. With the addition of these classes, what classes go away?
Okay, so with the Ag Science courses, that is it's restructuring all the courses. There are some new ones and there's some tweaked ones within that area. Within robotics and the computer science courses, I will run some fewer sections of some other classes that we're not pulling as hard. Across the board, there's not new staffing, so we're able to accomplish all this with existing staffing, existing budget dollars or grant dollars in the case of the robotics program. Part of that ends up being determined by students too, and which courses they choose to take. Ultimately, we have the same number of staff. We add these courses. I'll run a few sections, eventually, sometimes if there's not enough students to take it, I drop that course too. So I can't exactly answer that. Some of it will be determined by students as well.
I'd just like to say thank you to the team for looking at the new opportunities for our students, because there's some really interesting classes that they can take now to staying up to date and current. And I was in the meeting, so I had a lot of the same questions that I was asked. But thanks to the team for putting this all together, because obviously it takes a lot of time to sort through. So it's some great opportunities for our students. So with that, I'll motion to recommend all new courses as proposed by the high school administration starting in the 25-26 academic school year.
Yeah, Tracy's motion is seconded by Ed to approve the additional course offerings at the high school. Questions from anyone? And all those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It clearly passes.
All right, and the next, actually, item C and D, I'm gonna let Jeremy talk kind of collectively about these. So again, we learned and had a presentation on the Wisconsin Guarantee Indirect Ed from Wisconsin, so go ahead.
So I'll give a very brief overview. There's 2 Wisconsin programs that were added for the class of 2025. Wisconsin Direct Admit allows students, so all students, the state of Wisconsin pulls data from Skyward at the end of their junior year and directly admits them into a UW school. So that is new with this last class. So students get a letter in the summer at the end of July saying which UW schools that they were directly admitted to. There's 3 UW schools that are not part of that program. It's Eau Claire, La Crosse, and Wisconsin, but the rest of the schools, UW state schools, are directly admitted. So students don't have to go through the traditional process. There's no admission fee. They literally find out which schools they're admitted to, and then they get to choose if they want to go through that enrollment process. That was a program that was put out by the University of Wisconsin system. Concurrently, Wisconsin State Legislature created another system that's very similar. So we brought both because you hear them and it's easy to interchange them. The Wisconsin Guarantee was a separate program that was put forth for the class of 2025. And that's through state statute declared that we have to rank our students based on raw GPA. And then at the end of their junior year, looking at a rank based on raw GPA, that's the top 5% of that graduating class is automatically automatically accepted to the University of Wisconsin. They'd have to go through the admission process. At Madison, the top 10% to the rest of the UW systems. So this was another new change, which was the same area, but completely different than direct admit. The challenge with the Wisconsin Guarantee, and the reason we're bringing this forth tonight, is that there were challenges brought forth by Wisconsin high school principals specifically with the challenges that brought with that. The specifically is that many schools like Milton moved away from ranking students and putting rank on the school report card. And we stopped moving from raw state rankings based just on raw GPA because we moved to the Law Day system. So students now receive a Laude score, and they can, upon graduation, can receive a Laude status. That's an honors program at graduation. The challenge that we have, since we do not have weighted grades and our raw GPA ranks do not take into account course rigor or breadth and depth like our Laude system does, many schools across the state were asking for an alternative to this law. They listened, and about 2 months ago, the state legislature began an option for us to apply for a waiver, which is what we're doing tonight. I'm going to move into the last bullet point. So we are tonight asking, it has to come from the board, a request for a waiver from DPI for the Wisconsin Guarantee to move from raw GPA. We are choosing to rank our students based on their Laude score. Again, a Laude score takes into account the rigor of their coursework and the breadth and depth of coursework they choose to take. We feel that if it's with regards to the intent of this law, that this is a more accurate way to provide that ranking, even though we moved away from that a number of years ago. So the waiver that we're asking the board to approve tonight, and then I would need Joe and Rich's signature, is to request from the state, again, that we rank our students for the top 5% and 10% based off a Laude score versus a raw GPA. That's a nutshell right there.
So there is a recommended motion in class and also then copy of the application.
So Jeremy, this is a request,
So we are,
but it doesn't mean that they're gonna grant that request.
exactly. So this is actually the exact same waiver form. So if we were to choose to, as a district, to start before September 1st, or to anytime you ask DPI to waive one of the requirements, it goes through this process. They've all but encouraged us to apply for the waiver because, I mean, it was a Google Meet with literally 200 high school principals explaining what was wrong with this law. And this was the result was, here's the waiver form if you'd like to go that route. So that's what we're choosing to do.
How many schools use GPA?
Well, all schools use GPA. For how many schools that are ranking, I don't know the number right now. I know within Badger Conference, well over half, I know, are no longer putting their class rank on the transcript. We actually, at the old metric, we actually saw an increase of students in acceptance rates when you don't, because again, they're competing against the curriculum and not a class rank, because who is the number 27th ranked student in a class this year how is that compared to the 27th ranked person next year? It's a really antiquated way of doing that, but it made its way into state law. We're trying to have a better option from that.
So will the ranking still go on, or will it go on in this fashion?
What we would do then is that we would then, at the end of the junior year, a Laude score is a student's GPA times the number of Laude points that they've accumulated. That becomes your Laude score. We will rank those Laude scores, and state statute says we have to then, but then we will use that ranking to determine 5% and the 10% that the state statute requires.
Our high school's top 5% would be treated the same way as the top 5% at any other school.
Correct, thank you.
10%. We just would calculate who those are using our current system.
No, I understand, but would that be put out to the broad public? So someone who is not in the 5%, but they know that? Like,
They would not know that.
okay, so it would just be those top 5% would the jury know, and then everybody else is just in the pool below that.
Correct.
Appreciate that, and I appreciate the time you took to explain this, and it took me a little while when I got home to digest the conversation that you and I had, and just to reiterate to the board, my comment was, based on what Mr. Bill Horn is explaining, the opportunities for those students are already going to be there versus another school where it's just say pure GPA, and maybe you could give opportunities to students who weren't in that same category. So, but I went home and thought about it, and I do agree with this because of the rigor. If you have a student, because there are some students who won't ever be able to take AP classes, but they can still get a 4.0 GPA, which, kudos to them. It's a great accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
So you don't want to overlook their accomplishments, but then you would see a student who's maybe got a 3.5, but they're carrying 3 AP courses. So you don't want to take away that accomplishment either because of the rigor. So I appreciate the conversation we had at the meeting, and I really thought about it and put support this waiver.
Could a junior find out what his or her class rank is if he?
Yes.
He would,
Yes.
he would tell them?
Yeah, we were really not doing that before because there was really no reason for that. With Act 95, now we'd let them know where they're at.
Make a motion to approve the administration to submit a waiver to the Department of Public Instruction, requesting that the login score be utilized in place of the street, 3-point average, 10% of the high school class for the Wisconsin year.
You got it.
Okay, Rick's motion is seconded by Tracy, and it's also up here on the screen. It's rather wordy and lengthy, but Rick moved it in the exact form that's recommended. So is that drawing any questions from anyone? So all in favor of that motion, please signify with aye. And opposed? That clearly passes. All right, anything else, Jennifer? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bellhorn. All right, new business A, discussion and possible action on 24-25 extended field trip requests. So don't travel far from the podium.
All right, so we have 2 new trips that didn't make it into the first batch this last fall, but the Spanish Club is going to be taking, I believe they have 20-some students now signed up going to Spain this summer. And then the Milton Baseball Program coach Agnew is requesting to attend a tournament during spring break in South Carolina.
Move to approve the 2024-25 recast extended field trip.
Second.
Rick's motion is seconded by John to approve their extended field trip request. Does anyone have questions on those? So all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bellhorn. We will excuse you, I think. We're going to pitch this one to Rich. We have discussion and possible action on number of instructional days for the 25-26 school year.
Yeah, by board policy, the board approves the number of instructional days each year. And you can see from the recommendation that we're recommending approval of continuing the number of instructional days and the format for those instructional days that we have in place this year. So a total of 175.5 instructional days, which are 172.5 days of on-site instruction and 3 days of virtual instruction. The recommended number of instructional days would meet the state's minimum requirement with additional instructional hours to spare. And it's important to note that the state has a requirement, but it really is a floor. It isn't, they don't recommend that districts have that number of instructional hours, but it's to ensure that no districts go below that. If approved, those number of instructional days would allow us to start the school year on September 2nd, which is the earliest start date allowed by statute, and end on June 5th of 2026, with graduation on Sunday, May 31st. That ending by June 5th is something that's really important as we plan our calendar, because as you know, a number of our schools and classrooms do not have air conditioning, and if it starts to get really warm, if we come back, especially beyond that first week or first partial week in June. So there is a recommended motion that's listed in the memo, but see if anyone has any questions for that.
Rich, does this leave in play the same amount of hours with the early release on Monday and the professional days for our teachers during the year as it is right now?
Yes, with all of those calculated in, we still would have a good number of, a good amount of wiggle room above the state requirement.
And then the other thing I was looking at Memorial Day. So Memorial Day falls on Monday, May 25th, so this would be the Sunday after Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that wasn't fall on Memorial Day weekend.
And we've, for the last few years, I'm not sure how many it's been, we've graduated on that. It typically is the first Sunday in June, but because the Sunday this year falls on the 31st of May, it's graduation would be into May for next year.
just for some of us old timers, I know Mr. Billhorn, have we ever graduated in May?
Not in my time.
Not in my look back either, I don't think. Not to say we can't, but.
It's kind of a play with the calendar this year, like Rich said.
Exactly.
I'll move to approve 175.5 instructional days for the 25-26 school year with 172.5 days of on-site instruction and 3 days of virtual instruction.
Second.
Tracy's motion seconded by Rick, as you just heard, to approve our instructional day layout for next year. Questions from anyone? And all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That clearly passes. All right, C on new business is discussion and possible action on an additional .2 certified staff FTE for an educational behavioral support interventionist at Northside. Ms. Kramer and Mr. Kupendorf.
As you see in the board packet, the memo, doing exactly what Joe had mentioned, and I'm ready to take any questions or comments. If
Is
you'd
that
like,
sufficient, the .2 extra? I mean, is that going to cover the need?
it's actually a 1 point,
Give
yep,
background there.
Yeah.
We have a .8 FTE in the bank, if you will, that we've already approved.
Yep.
They want to hire a 1.0 FTE person, so this is a very technical interpretation of our procedures, I guess, if you will. Mr. Don and I talked about sort of the redundancy of asking for a .2 approval, but to follow protocol. That's what we're doing tonight, is asking for an additional .2 to pair with a .8, because they're gonna hire 1.0 of an FTE.
very good math lesson.
1.0 is sufficient.
Yes, it is. Yep, I think it'll fill the need. It's gonna help build the toolbox, not only of our staff, but Mr. Dye and I as well. Provide some intervention with, in real time with students, but then also just working and collaborating with staff to come up with strategies to have students be in a better place to learn.
I think one key part of the need is that between the time that we left school last spring and we had our enrollment projections and the time that students showed up in September, enrollment at Northside grew by 22 students. We had a lot of move-ins in both 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So our class sizes are a little bit bigger than we had anticipated at Northside. And Principal Kramer came to me in, I don't remember, it was late September or early October, and asked about the possibility of adding a position. I was hesitant at that time because if the referendum hadn't passed, we probably would have had to turn around and make a reduction of that position. And I didn't want to add something with the idea that at some point in the very near future, we would need to make that reduction. With the referendum passing, we're not anticipating making any budget reductions for next year. So I felt comfortable in bringing this item to the board for approval. There is a need, and the principals and the staff at Northside have done a really good job of thinking through and detailing what that position would do.
I move to approve it.
Okay, sorry. It's okay. So this is at the north side level, so you have your 4th, 5th, and 6th. Are there is this type of an interventionist exist in the middle school, or is the intent to kind of curb it at north side before those students move on, or are we looking to say maybe building this as we move on?
So right now, there's no plans to expand this in the middle school. We currently have an employee that does assist with behavior at the Milton Middle School. But at this time, there's no plans to change that position or add on to that position.
Okay, so but the support would be there for the students that graduate on from north side to the middle school?
Yes, at this time, we do have somebody.
A big difference between what we have in place now at the middle school and what we're looking to add at Northside is that the position at the middle school is a support staff position, and they don't do any training with the teaching staff. They work strictly with individual students and small groups of students to build better skills around behavior. At Northside, if approved, it would also, part of the position would be doing that same thing with individual and small groups of students, but a part of it would also be doing some training during PLCs and PD time with the teaching staff, in particular because we as a district and districts across the country are seeing stronger student behavior at younger ages. So it's sometimes behavior that teachers haven't seen as much of and could use that support that this position will provide.
And then my last question is the relation to, say, like student services. So maybe like with Julia, like on the IEP side. So obviously some students would have the behavior or the emotional learning built into their IEPs. This would be separate from that, so it would be like crossing.
Right. Well, this position is going to potentially work with all students,
Okay.
you know, but have that behavior background piece that will help impact all of our students. So it's not non-IEP versus IEP, it's all students.
So it does cover more than just the IEP students, which would obviously cover
Yes.
the IEP. I'm
Yes.
looking at the other set of students saying that.
All students and staff.
One more quick thing to note, I did have a typo on that memo, and that is calling Jennifer Kramer, the Director of Teaching and Learning. I will be updating that, and then working with Kim and Chelsea to update that first thing tomorrow morning, so I apologize for that typo.
Hey, goals. Goals.
We know what's going
Will that be reflected in my paycheck?
It will not.
Certified staff at the 24 school year be allocated for hiring educational behavior support interventionists at Northside Intermediate School as presented with the amendment to the memo as per Chris.
I'll second.
Annette's motion is seconded by Ed, as you just heard. Adding us support person. Questions? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, D is back to Rich. He's going to give us the official referendum results.
Yeah, in Word docs is the certificate of the board of canvassers. At our last board meeting, the election day had happened, but the election results hadn't been canvassed yet. So you can see on this document for each of our different polling places, the number of yes votes, the number of no votes. One of the things that I want to highlight is that we have a total of 13,259 votes, which is a very large turnout for school district elections in our district. And the other thing I want to point out is you can see the vote totals there. With the 215 more yes votes than no, but that as a percent is 50.8% yes and 49.2% no. So a difference of 1.6%. So very close election, and I want to take this opportunity one more time to thank all the people that helped spread the message and the importance of this for our current students and for future referendums.
Okay, any questions on that? Alrighty, we will roll on. Last on new business is E, is notification and announcement of sorts that the spring 2025 school board election will happen in April. And we have a system whereby we have 3 candidates and then 2 and 2. This is a year for 2. Those positions are Rick and John for their terms on the board, which are up in April. So those positions would be ones open. There's a couple of attachments to board docs that is guidance for folks that would become candidates. There's some of the ins and outs of what you need and don't need for actually becoming a candidate. Read through that. And the other is just that official notice I mentioned that we have to publish of the upcoming election. Questions from anyone on that? All right, excellent. We're rolling down to miscellaneous A, the staffing report. It's included in your docs.
Make a motion to approve the staff report.
Rick's motion is look at the second to Jennifer on that. You want a couple of them to approve the staffing report. Does anyone have questions on it? All those in favor of approval of the staffing report, please say aye. Opposed? That clearly passes. Gifts and donations are number B. That list is also included in board docs.
I would just like to call something out before I mention. If you look up on the board, how many parent groups are on that board this time? So I'd like to give a shout out to the parents in our district for taking the time, energy, and funds to raise to benefit our students, because there's a lot of them up there, and it takes a village. So on that note, I would move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Thank you. Tracy's comments are incredibly appropriate. Our parents groups are valuable partners of ours. Seconded by Rick. All those in favor of approval of gifts and donations, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you for that. Meeting dates, Mr. Donovan.
We have our regular board meeting is on December 9th. That's the only regular board meeting in December. We have a data workshop on December 16th. Both of those are at 6:30 here in our normal meeting space. We have a joint curriculum and technology committee meeting on Monday, December 2nd. That starts at 6:30 p.m. And we will in January be needing to schedule some upcoming committee meetings, but those are the only ones that we have in place right now. The policy committee hasn't met for a while, but we're meeting with Bernie Nicolai, our former superintendent, who's now a Neola rep. We're meeting with him next week to look at updating Neola policies, so we'll probably meet between the two January board meetings to get our policy committee meeting in. And we can look at dates at the December 9th board meeting for that.
All right. Questions from anyone? The dates. All right. So we are good with that. That's the regular agenda. We're going to propose executive session here, but I'll detail in just a moment. Thank you all for joining us. We're not returning to open session tonight. So I would entertain a motion pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985, sub 1 and sub C, which is considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And tonight's topic is the superintendent evaluation.
So moved.
That's Rick and John's motion. Roll call of Jennifer. Ed?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joe is yes. John?
Yes.
Annette? Tracy?
Yes.
Thank you. Executive session is in order.